if you grow up in poverty, if you grow up not having things, and if you grow up knowing not to even ask, because the answer is gonna be no. And not from a place of no to you, but from a place of no to we don't have it. Hey y'all, it's Chimdi. So I want to talk about how we block our blessings, how I've blocked my blessings, and how I'm in the process of allowing my blessings to come. I'm a big Abraham Hicks person, despite the video I made saying that Abraham Hicks is a scam. I am an Abraham Hicks fan. I just think there should be more trauma healing in there. That's all I'm saying. But a big thing they talk about is about allowing, you know, like you send out this desire, the art is in receiving it. The art is in allowing it. If you don't understand how you could be blocking your blessings, it's very confusing and really upsetting, honestly, and insulting almost. When someone's like, girl, it's because you're not allowing it. If you would just allow it, then it would come into your life. You're not letting it in. And I'm like, literally, what are you talking about? But then I've had, I've in fact let some things in, and as a result I actually see how and why other things that I have been calling into my life haven't appeared, and I had a really intense process last night about it, so I want to share. Part of me is also thinking like, girl, you just had this process, could it be too fresh? Because I don't love crying on camera, but I've prayed on it, and so I'm trusting that God will only allow like what needs to be said to come through, and anything that isn't fully processed will stay with me until it's ready to be fully processed. Before we get into it, thank you Patreon people for your support and for your money and for your comments and for your likes and your engagement. I love you. Subscribers, you're awesome. Thanks for hanging out with me every week and kind of every day now, I guess. I'm being very prolific right now. I want to make another video about that because I feel a way about the idea of consistency and it being like showing up every single day like I've been doing lately, but it's fine. We're gonna get into it. And I actually want to shout out Otter Spirit, who gave me these bracelets because they were a big part of my process. So if you want some bracelets, you can do Chimdi20 for 20% off your order. All right, let's get this video started. So lately I've been getting things I want and they've been coming really easily. Like literally could not be any easier. The two examples I have, an eyeshadow from Merit Beauty, which I got as PR, and then these bracelets from Otter Spirit, which I also got from PR. Shout out to Merit because they're the reasons I'm like into makeup again. I was like kind of just, you know, wearing lip liner and a lip gloss, you know, just like adding dimensions to that's where I was at. I was like, look at me pairing the lip liner with the lip gloss. Who does she think she is? And as I was getting into it, I was having fun and I literally was just like, oh, I'd like to have some eyeshadow. And then literally I got an email from Merit saying, hey girl, we have this new eyeshadow. You want some? And I'm like, this is hilarious, of course. Order that, it comes easy breezy. I'm watching another YouTuber's video and he's wearing a couple of these bracelets. And I literally just think, oh, I want some of them bracelets. Move on with my life. These are not like strong, intense desires. There's not a lot of dense material attached to it. These aren't like lifelong dreams. Little stuff like, oh, I like those bracelets. Same thing happens. Outer Spirit sends me an email like, hey girl, can we send you some for free? And I'm like, sure. Will you let us? Will you allow us to give you free stuff? And I'm like, let me think about it. Okay. But the thing, even with these two examples, the thing is when I started my YouTube career, I knew that I was gonna get free stuff, right? Like that's very much part of the deal with being a YouTuber. If you have an audience and if you have views, is that companies are gonna be like, great, can we use the audience that you built to sell our products, right? So to me, that was inevitable. I previously had this mindset that was, I am always being undervalued. Like that was a limiting belief I just held. So it showed up in every area of my life. Every job I had up to that point, I was like, I'm being underpaid. Didn't matter how much I was making. I went from making like, my first nonprofit job, I was making 40 grand a year. My last nonprofit job, I was making 80 grand a year. Whole time, I was thinking, I'm not being paid enough. Like that was just a thought, it didn't matter. And so when I was getting free stuff from brands, my first thought wasn't gratitude. My first thought wasn't, thank you so much, this is so cool, I really like this stuff, I really want this stuff. And you hear so much in the spiritual world how important gratitude is. And what I'm really learning in my process is there's so much stuff that I hear, think I understand, really think I know, really think I embody and live, and actually I don't. And I'm like, oh, okay, I I literally was parroting these things, and I believe them and live them to some extent, but there is, in the beautiful inner journey, there's always more and further and deeper you can go. And so when I would get stuff from brands, my thought was always, you should be paying me for it. And if you are paying me for it, you should be paying me more for it, you know? Like, I would have videos that would get a couple hundred views, and I would be going to brands like, you need to pay me hundreds of dollars and thousands of dollars. And they would be like, no? We would both be mad. They probably weren't mad. They probably were fine. But I was very self-righteous, and I was like,
well, then if you're not gonna value me, then I'm not gonna.
You know? When it was happening, also, I couldn't laugh about it, to be clear. I'm only laughing about it because things have changed internally for me. But when this was happening, I was upset. I was like, this is another instance. Is it because I'm a Black creator? Da da da. I'm sure that's totally a thing in the space, you know? But I think really what it is that my stance towards receiving was one of, no matter what it is, it's not enough. And so I've been doing all of my lovely, beautiful healing work, allowing more lovely things into my life. And a couple of days ago, I was reflecting on my coaching business. So I'm a creative coach, and I help YouTubers show up consistently and authentically. I was reflecting on my coaching business, and I was thinking about the client I have now, the project I'm working on for the new year, I won this grant from the state of Maryland. I haven't made a video about it because I think I want to make those videos and then reflect on it, but I won a grant from Maryland, and so I'm working on those videos this month. So I was like, I think I have a lot coming up, and I'm gonna be spending these next couple of months like preparing for and then launching this thing for January. So I was like, it would be a lot to get a new client, like a new full-time client right now, but I would really love some more alignment calls. So I offer these like 30-minute calls. It's basically like 30 minutes of coaching to give the person a taste of what it's like to work with me. And then if they're interested, I share more about my 3-month program. And I was like, yeah, I don't actually want anyone to sign up for my 3-month coaching right now, just because there's a lot going on in like the month of November, but I would love some alignment calls. And this is just something I'm chatting to God about. Every evening I do like an angel meeting, and I call in all the angels and saints in my spirit team, and we like plan ahead. For the day. We reflect on the day that had just happened, and we plan ahead for the next day. And I think of them as my business team. I want to make a separate video about like receiving support, because I also think that's a big reason why I've been able to actually manifest support in my real life too, is because I got used to doing it on the spiritual realm. I'm talking to my spirit team, we're having our business meeting, and I'm like, yeah, this is what I want. And they're like, bet. Literally the next day. I think what gets me is when it's really fast. Literally the next day, some random person is like, hey girl, can I talk to you about something to do with coaching? And it was a business. It wasn't someone who wanted my coaching. I pay you for your time. And I'm like, sure, here's a link to my alignment call. And then they put time on my calendar. And I didn't realize it when it was happening. It was only later that night where I was like, when I was having my spirit team meeting, where I was like, oh crap, that thing I asked for, the next day I got it. And this is one of a series of things that's been happening like that. And that really shocked me. Something about that really shocked me, that like God really doesn't need any time. And then it made me think about what are some of the other things that I have similarly asked for, but haven't received yet, haven't gotten in such a short amount of time. And why wouldn't I receive it? And so I'm thinking about, I'm thinking about like tens of thousands of dollars, right? I'm thinking about huge lump sums. I connect to this idea because in the same way that God gave me these bracelets, literally, I didn't have to do anything for this stuff. It was literally just mailed to me. In the same way this call was put on my calendar is the same way anything I've ever asked for could manifest in my life. And so I kind of sat quietly, and what I did is I connected to the energy of the possibility of it, that like I could receive a text message. When I did this commercial, I worked with 368, it was super cool. That commercial truly came from that guy texting me. Like I was literally chilling in Mexico. I remember I was eating like a fruit bowl, and then I get a text like, hey girl, and then it turned into this like thousands of dollars deal to like do this cool commercial. So I know God can just text me thousands of dollars. We don't even need to get on an email. To get on an email chain. God can just be like an SMS, like, hey girl, you want some money? And I'm like, thank you. And so I just connected to the truth of that. And then what was interesting is there was this part of me that was essentially not interested in anything God had to give me, which was very interesting for me as someone who loves God and loves stuff. I was like, what's going on here? And so I like presence it, and I go far back. She's like deep back in. And it's this young part of me who's just like looking like, just not impressed, not interested, not asking for anything. And I was like, okay, know what's going on here. Suffice to say, there was a lot of weeping, and the gist of it was, if you grow up in an experience of neglect where you don't have a lot of stuff, if you grow up in poverty, if you grow up not having things, and if you grow up knowing not to even ask, because the answer is gonna be no, and not from a place of no to you, but from a place of no to we don't have it. And so to learn at a really young age, like, oh, the things that I want, it's literally not worth asking for it. So go ahead and shut down that part of yourself that asks for things, you know? I think that was where a lot of the weeping came from, was to really presence that. I was talking to a friend of mine, and we were reflecting on getting support from our parents. And I remember in college, one of my roommates, for graduation, her parents bought her a car. It was such an interesting moment because, you know, she was grateful and she was appreciative and stuff, but you know, it wasn't a big deal for her. And her parents were actually paying off her student loans, you know? And that also wasn't a big deal. As someone who, you know, who doesn't receive large sums from her parents, it was so, like, literally it was like a different dimension, a different universe, you know? It's like, I think a lot about like the spiritual world and how we talk about being in different dimensions, but how all of it's happening now. And that's kind of what I think about, like these dimensions being frequencies. And there's a frequency where someone's like, it is normal and natural that my parents are buying me a car and buying me a house and paying for my wedding, giving me monthly allowances. They have a trust fund for me, and they, like, that certain people, literally nothing that I just said was crazy. They're like, yeah, like they're waiting for me to say something that's outlandish, because they're like,
yeah, girl, what's the big deal?
that is like being in a Star Trek dimension, right? In this process last night, I was able to understand, okay, the part of me that learned to not even ask, and the part of me that has resentment, you know, because I know I deserve everything. That's the thing, like, we know we deserve everything. So when we don't get it, a part of us is like, this isn't right, you know, like, we know that. That part of me held this resentment, and one of the ways that this is something I learned from the spiritual teacher I used to work with, like, one of the ways we embody our power when we are sort of externally be seen powerless is by withholding our energy. It's like, okay, if I can't change the situation, what I can do is control how much of my energy I give to it. I still have not read, and I don't think I'm going to read Britney Spears' book, but I think in it she talks about how, you know, she was basically forced to do this residency and this tour. She would essentially do it like she was a zombie. Like, she would just kind of do it, she would go through the motions. And one of the ways she protested was she was like, I'm not gonna like shake my hair and do all this kind of stuff. And that was her internal protest, to say, you may be forcing me to do all this stuff I don't want to do, but you will not fully control me, and this is the one way I will make sure you don't control me. And so the way we use and leverage our energy is a big way that we can hold on to our own power. And I saw that in a circumstance, in a dynamic where I knew I wouldn't be able to get these things that I wanted. I said, okay, I will hold on to some level of control, hold on to some level of power by saying that I'm not even gonna ask for it. Like, I will control myself to the point where I'm not even asking for these things and desiring these things. That was what I needed to do, and that's what helped me sort of stay connected and grounded in my own sovereignty and my own independence and my own power, essentially. And now I'm at this point in my life, which is very beautiful. And I was just watching the video I put out today, which was about the outside world reflecting our inner world. And I mentioned how I am very grateful every time I learn something new about myself and uncover something, basically do shadow work, because it is a beautiful thing to see. You know what I mean? It's a beautiful thing to see, and it shows me how far I've come, because I wouldn't be seeing it unless I was ready to see it, you know? And so to realize, like, okay, that was something I needed. Like, not allowing was serving a purpose. And so to even consider that every single coping mechanism we have is fully serving a purpose, is fully in our best interest until it isn't, and then it's when it isn't and when it becomes a problem that we then can bring the light and do the shadow work and figure out why this thing is in our way. So yeah, I had this process last night, still pretty fresh, I have to say, but I wanted to share it because it's new and emergent, and I think it would resonate, and I'm really loving showing up every single day, I have to say. So that's the video. Let me know in the comments how you are allowing things into your life. Is there a part of you that holds on to your power by saying no? Let me know how you're enjoying these regular videos. Let me know if you like my eye look. I'm like having so much fun playing with makeup. It's such a good time. Okay, bye!